Candidate number 3. What have you accomplished in your personal or professional life that qualifies you to lead our fraternity?
Well, professionally, my education, one of the things that you're doing as a Grand Lodge or a Grand Line member is you're in charge of a lot of money, you're in charge of a large trust and charities. I do hold a law degree and an MBA from Boston College. My undergraduate degree is in philosophy, which kind of led me in some ways to Masonry. So I think my education gives me a good background for that. I also have worked in the executive level for a couple of companies, currently working for a IT hardware company in charge of their unified communications division. That, in many ways, I think is probably the biggest piece of experience that would allow me to have some way of looking at the Grand Lodge in a different way than if you don't have that experience. Because I can bring that type of executive level management experience into the Grand Line and basically say this is the way the business should be done. And as I said previously, if you're doing it well and you're a good leader, it should seem effortless. The people around you should not feel like you're having to strain to do that. And having done that for now 15, 16 years, I think brings a lot to the table. Personally, I've got 5 kids at home. My oldest is 14, my youngest is 3. That teaches you a lot. I will tell you the majority of my Masonic career, I'm almost a Mason, almost 20 years, I was single. And probably learned more from having kids around the house as to, there's that book. Everything I learned, I need to know, I learned in kindergarten. And I learned a lot by becoming a father. And a lot of that would be translated to, how to treat people equitably. And when I tell my kids, don't hit each other, sometimes we have to tell each other as Masons the same thing.
Candidate number 1, same question.
I think what qualifies me best for the position that I'm running for is the fact I spent 20 years in the Air Force working with the U-2 and the SR-71 reconnaissance program, where we had to work as a team when we left the base. We had to work together to accomplish our goals, but yet if you were the leader of the team, you had to be able to delegate and then hold people responsible, which I did as an aircraft maintenance supervisor when I retired. Upon completion of my 4-year degree at St. Martin's, I went to work for a major corporation and ended up being the West Coast controller for the corporation in reference to paper machine manufacturing. We reconditioned all the paper rolls in the paper mills. I then got very active back into Masonry. And just a few years ago, when we finally when Grand Lodge bought a new building, they needed to form a Grand Lodge Temple Board Association, and I was asked to join it. And because of my background, I was appointed treasurer of the Grand Lodge Building Association. Prior to that, I was exposed to Masonry because I was asked to be on the Grand Lodge Committee on Finance by Most Worshipful Brother Mike Sanders. By being on these committees, I've been able to work with the electeds, working out their budgets, holding them accountable, questioning what they are spending their money on and why. And because of my experience and the financial background, plus being able to delegate and hold people responsible, I think I'm very well qualified for the position that in 3 years I would hope to achieve. And with that said, I look forward to serving our jurisdiction and to working with the brothers to accomplish the goals that we need to do and to listen to their concerns and see what we can do to implement those concerns that are critical at this time. Thank you.
Candidate number 2, same question.
In 1965, I enlisted in the Navy at the age of 17. I spent not quite 21 years in the Navy, going from a young enlisted man until I retired as a lieutenant commander. I had several duty stations that required management skills. I was a nuclear weapons officer on a nuclear weapon or a nuclear submarine, and all that entailed. Probably my most substantial duty while I was on active duty was the officer in charge in the Atlantic Undersea Test and Evaluation Center, where I interfaced with foreign governments. We were stationed in the Bahamas and West Palm Beach, Florida, and we were working on treaty issues, anti-drug task force, just a number and variety of duties and experiences. How does that relate? Well, it's just management experience. And when I left the Navy, I took off the blue suit. And I basically started all over again and going through civilian careers. I soon found that there was not a lot of call for submarine nuclear weapons officers in the civilian community, so I had to find another thing to do for a living. I finally wound up starting a business. I've had it for 20 years. It's an internet business. I have served in nonprofit organizations, several. Probably the most significant, I was president of the Bremerton Symphony Association. And we started doing Masonic symphonies, by the way, which have been very successful and helped to present the fraternity in a positive way. The bottom line to all that isn't, gee, look at me, but the bottom line to all that is probably the one lesson that is most important to me is that no matter what organization you're in, the most important possession you have are your members. And it is especially true for a volunteer organization, whether it's a symphony or our fraternity. You value your volunteers, and if they fail in some way, you don't beat them over the head. You find something that they can do that they can succeed at. Help them succeed, and you will succeed. And our fraternity will prosper when we take that on board and operate in that manner.